What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and things are heating up between Scarlett Johansson and Disney as more female actresses have lent their support to Scarlett against the streaming giant. Interestingly enough, other Marvel superheroines like, Scarlet Witch actress Elizabeth Olsen, who will probably now be killed off in the next movie, but nonetheless, Scarlett's getting woke with her battle of PR against Disney. You can see Scarlett Johansson accuses Disney of misogynistic attack over Black Widow lawsuit. Scarlett Johansson and her team of lawyers have accused Disney of a misogynistic attack on the actress in regards to her recent filing over the Black Widow lawsuit. Disney filed a motion to get the case moved to arbitration instead of having the case decided in public court, where Johansson's lawyer responded as follows, quote, "After initially responding to this litigation with a misogynistic attack against Scarlett Johansson, Disney is now predictably trying to hide its misconduct in a confidential arbitration," said Oscar nominee's main lawyer, John Berlinski, today after the House of the Mouse response to Johansson's scathing profits lawsuit went public. "Why is Disney so afraid of litigating this case in public?" added the Kasowitz Benson Torres LLP attorney, in which what has become a Cuban Missile Crisis level of war of words. Because it knows that Marvel's promises to give Black Widow a theatrical release like its other films had everything to do with guaranteeing that Disney wouldn't cannibalize box office receipts in order to boost Disney Plus subscriptions, Berlinski adds, as Disney insists Marvel's contract with Johansson provides for an arbitration exactly in the event of a dispute like this one that erupted on July 29th. Yet that is exactly what happened, and we look forward to presenting the overwhelming evidence that proves it. Look, anytime you have a contract with a big company, there's always a line or two in there that forces you into arbitration. It's just the way it works. They protect themselves in this manner so that you must agree that if anything, and then usually in these contracts you have to pick a state, it's usually like Delaware or something, that, you know, handles the suit. It's actually usually, or it's one that's, you know, favorable to the company if you're not in a great position. But what's interesting is where exactly the misogyny comes in is unclear. But an issue is Scarlett Johansson's claiming that her contract says Black Widow can only be released in theaters, while Disney is arguing the contract does not mandate an exclusive theatrical release. Look, we've seen this with Free Guy, which is currently doing pretty well at the box office. I think the budget for that film was around $100 million, which is actually surprising to me given the amount of CGI it had. Free Guy is a fine movie. There are some cringe political / like SJW jokes about white male privilege and feminism, and that really stick out as like odd and not like in the right spot, but because there's really no right spot for that. But overall, I thought the movie was pretty good. I think my official review gave it an 8.5 or an 8 out of 10. And that movie only dropped 34% in the box office. If we look at this, so there might be something, I guess what I'm saying is there might be something to the idea that, you know, Free Guy was not released on Disney Plus. The only way to see it was in theaters. And it only had a 34% drop in the second weekend, which is actually pretty small. Known as the second week hold by industry analysts, this figure indicates whether a film has staying power at the box office. Most films, a 50 to 60% drop is normal. And Free Guy only had a 34% drop. And the weekend box office was a disaster, I think the worst since June. In fact, Free Guy had the best hold from first to second week of any film that opened with more than 10 million in ticket sales in the last year. What does this tell you? This tells you, first of all, that people love Ryan Reynolds, but second of all, people will still go to the movie theater to see a good movie. Free Guy had the best hold from its first to second week of any film that opened with more than 10 million in ticket sales. In total, the film has secured 112 million globally since its release. Now, these aren't massive numbers. It might do 250 million or something like that. That would probably, 200 million would probably be big. But it only had $100 million budget. So again, this film probably won't be a huge moneymaker either. But in terms of surviving in the marketplace, Free Guy offered proof that even in this unusual marketplace, good old-fashioned word of mouth is very socially engaged. Ryan Reynolds can propel a theatrical exclusive film to solid second week business in theaters. Now, this flies in the face of, every major film buff's excuse. Ooh, the coof, ooh, this variant, that variant. That's why Black Widow didn't do good. I don't know. Free Guy kind of proves that maybe streaming did hurt it. And the fact that it didn't have strong word of mouth also didn't help. Although Marvel and Disney share Periwinkle's frustration with the challenges associated with releasing films during the ever-shifting public health crisis, Periwinkle's claims that Marvel breached the agreement and Disney introduced that breach or otherwise interfered with the agreement have no merit. Last night's motion states there is nothing in agreement required that wide theatrical release also be exclusive theatrical release. Okay. Again, I'm not sure where the kind of the SJW gendered stuff comes from. You see here, feminist groups who've also been silent in regards to the tally have slammed Disney for a gendered attack on Scarlett Johansson. But again, it's not really clear where that comes from. Scarlett Johansson is one of the first who filed the suit, and then Disney defended itself by stating how much Johansson was paid, $20 million plus revenue from Disney Plus. But again, where does that dislike of Johansson is a female come into play? Are they actually arguing that because Black Widow is a female-led movie that Disney decided to release it on Disney Plus, or because Disney is defending itself from the lawsuit? Essentially, this article reads, I don't know, like this is a little reeks of a little PR smear desperation stuff, wanting to make Disney look bad. But I actually don't think Disney cares about looking bad because, I mean, look at everything that happened with Mulan, and they just kept on keeping on. You can see from Comic Book News, more evidence people are afraid to go to movie theaters showing a picture of Lollapalooza. It's a very good, valid point. Good tweet by Matt McGlowan there, because it's true. We know that if movies are good, people will still go to the theater. They can't keep blaming the lockdowns and the coof, because that's just not the truth of it all. You see, Elizabeth Olsen praises tough Scarlett Johansson amid Disney lawsuit. Good for you, Scarlett. It's either in the contract or it's not. Elizabeth Olsen on Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit against Disney on the Black Widow lawsuit. Elizabeth Olsen is the latest celeb to show support for Scarlett Johansson amid her lawsuit. Olsen, 32, praised her fellow Avengers star last week in a conversation with Jason Sudeikis for Vanity Fair. I think she's so tough, and literally when I read the title, I was like, good for you, Scarlett, Olsen remarked. The comment came while Olsen answered a question on whether actors were worried about movies having a harder time hitting theaters post-lockdowns. Not worried on Scarlett's behalf, but I'm worried about small movies getting the opportunity to be seen in theaters. That was already a thing pre-coof, she said later. But when it comes to actors and their earnings, I mean, that's just all contracts. So it's either in the contract or it's not. I don't necessarily see this as Elizabeth Olsen, really throwing much of a hat in the ring here. She's just basically saying, well, it's there or not. I don't know. If it's there, then they should pay her. If it's not, well, that's different. Olsen's comment come after Johansson filed a lawsuit against Disney last month, alleging that the media conglomerate breached their contract. I don't know. I don't know that Disney. This whole thing just seems weird to me, because this feels like a lawsuit that will get you blacklisted. And when we saw how Disney responded, they canceled her movie. She had that movie, Tower of Terror, that she was supposed to be in, right? I don't know what her potential salary was going to be for that film, but she gave that up now over this lawsuit. And probably any real reason for Disney to ever work with her again. I think that Disney has since faced backlash from women in film. Los Angeles, Reframe, and Time's Up, calling on the network's response to Johansson's lawsuit a gendered attack. Her agent, Brian Lord, also accused Disney of trying to weaponize her success by including her salary in their statement. Well, yeah, that's of course what they were trying to do. They were trying to basically paint her as greedy. Again, I don't see any of this as gendered. I think that, I appreciate, look, if it's in the contract, I support Scarlett. If it's not, then this is a dumb lawsuit. But I'm not sure that this is exactly great. Scarlett Johansson slams misogynistic Disney response as Mouse House tries to move Black Widow's suit behind closed doors. They're going to win that too, by the way, because I'm sure it's in the contract that any litigation must be arbitrated first. So now Disney is going to put this behind closed doors, so we're not going to see any of this actually play out. And ultimately, just a bad look for Disney and possibly a bad look for Scarlett if we don't actually find out if it was in the contract or not. For those of you who love a good horse race or math, Disney has added Black Widow's opening domestic haul of just under 80 million to its admittedly very strong 55 million opening weekend on Disney Plus for a grand total of 135 million, or as they say, more than many other Marvel Cinematic Universe films, including Thor, Dark World, Ant-Man, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Guardians of the Galaxy made on opening days. All very good, but as of August 15th, it's grossed 367 million worldwide, and more than 125 million in streaming and download retail receipts. Still lost money, or maybe it made a little bit of money. A far cry from the 500 million it probably should have made. And if they have to pay Scarlett another 40-50 million, we're talking about a legitimate chunk of the money. That's probably all of their profits. So it's going to be interesting to watch this play out. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.